Hello, hello, hello. Like myself, English is not my first language, but we have to learn. There's something we should do to overcome this sometimes difficulty to learn English. So today, if like me is your second language English and you want to learn a little more, at least how to learn, you're in the right place. Stay tuned because I'll be back in a moment. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another The Special Marketing Live Show. Today, we're going to speak about how to learn English, how important it is as a second language for you, mostly if you are on business or if you want to make business all over the world, because by these days, it's very important to be at home, safe, and communicate with the rest of the world. So if it's your case, stay tuned because in a moment I will bring Sam to the screen. As usual, he's on the basement. I hope it has the glass of water and the cookie. Usually I left there to my guests. Hopefully he will sing at the end of the show because running, as I saw in the other day on a video, it's not his sing. So let's see. And if you are there watching, please let us know where you are. Let us know which platform are you seeing, if you are watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, for instance. And you can say also about your English level, or if it's hard for you to speak English, if it's easy, how did you learn? Please let us know everything about this. Okay, so let us bring Sam. Hello, Sam. How are you?
Hello, Marco. I'm very well. How are you?
Well, I'm well too. Thanks for asking. First of all, Sam, it's a pleasure. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you here. As I said before, off the record, I've seen people giving me feedback. Oh, it's amazing the guest you will bring next Tuesday. Thank you for bringing him. He's very good in what he does, and that's why I brought you, because I don't like to bring people which are not that good to my show. And also, I like good people, if you know what I mean, on my show. It's not just the professional side. The personal side is very important also. And you were very kind and very nice since the first time we shared on LinkedIn. So thank you for being here. I will ask you if you can introduce yourself, and then let's go to the conversation. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I've seen your show on numerous occasions. I've already enjoyed it. I particularly liked the show that you had with Neil Schaefer about the age of influencers. That was fascinating. I ended up buying his book and connecting with him. He's a great guy. So yeah, I've been following you for a while, Marco. I love your live shows, and I've learned a lot from them. So thank you very much for inviting me on it. My name is Sam Gratton, and well, I first moved to Spain. I live in Madrid, and I first moved to Spain about 20 years ago, and I went to IESE Business School, and I met my wife, and I had a kid, and I got an MBA while I was there, so which was a lot more than they advertised on the brochure. And then we moved back to London. We spent about 12 years in London before my Spanish wife said, "Pero ya, volvemos." And I generally do what she says. So we came back to Spain. We set up a little communications consulting business. It's basically me and my wife, and there are a few other people that help us out. And what we do is we help professionals improve their communication skills in international business. And we've been doing that for the last 7 years. And it's been an emotional roller coaster ride. It's been a lot of fun. And now I find myself here with you, Marco. So that's my story.
Absolutely amazing, because it's kind of, today we live in kind of a big village where you can cross borders, you can go to England, you can, well, now by these days it's not that easy to go to England, but it's the truth. But besides, it is important to go to England and communicate ourselves. It's speaking English by these days. It's kind of it's an obligation, Sam, to speak English, or at least to have a second idiom.
Yeah, I think so. I think the world needs a second language. Everyone has their own first language. Well, in my case, English is my first language. But the world needs a second language to communicate. And as we continue to globalize, that becomes more and more important. And it only makes sense, really, for there to be one second language. It doesn't really make sense for half the world to be speaking one second language and the other half to be speaking another. So there should really be only one winner in this. And just out of historical accident, it happens to be English. So, if you want to do international business, if you want to go to a great business school, if you want to read the latest scientific journals, if you want to engage on the internet, then it really, really helps. It's a really big advantage if you speak English and you can do that in English. So yeah, it's fundamentally important. And I don't think, certainly in my generation and my kids' generation, that's not going to change. I think there's interesting technological developments that could affect the importance of English as a second language, and then also there's the growth in power of Asia and particularly China and Mandarin as a language. That's also a potential alternative. But I think certainly as far as we're concerned, Marco, it's going to be English all the way as a second language.
Yeah, I think it's truly important. I can remember this episode. I talk about this often, mostly on my trainings, because I like to make some personal marketing, personal branding, and career. And I remember this episode. It's a real episode. It's not a joke. In my last grade year, I was, well, as usual, we were like starving lions looking for a job, no. And there was this girl, which was his grade was on international affairs, okay, and international business, and she was really upset because, and she said, "Oh, I'm very upset. All the requests." All the job requests, they ask for English. It doesn't make any sense. And she was on international business. And I, like the song said, and I said to myself, well, if you want to work just with African countries which speak Portuguese, Brazil and Paris, because there's a huge amount of Portuguese in Paris, it will be okay if you just speak Portuguese. But otherwise, in your particular business, it's nonsense for me to struggle so hard with this thing. I won't learn any other language.
Yeah, I think you can thrive and survive without speaking English, but it limits you. I mean, if you speak English, there's so many more doors that are open for you, actually within your own country and internationally as well. So I think you can still be happy and successful and work in a domestic company wherever you are. And, you can still be a great manager only speaking your own language. But then you're going to be limited to that world. And if you want to expand your horizons and you want to sort of move up into a multinational company, or you want to travel around and have experiences working in international business in other countries, then that's when you need English. And I've taught managers at Spanish companies, brilliant managers at Spanish companies that were multinational, and their only priority was to improve their English, because that was the thing that was holding them back. That was the thing that was preventing them from being promoted. That was the thing that was preventing them from running an international project. They were really good managers. They had very good teams with them, and they worked very well, and they were great communicators and leaders in their own language. But they were bumping up against the ceiling. We talk about the glass ceiling. I think for some people there is a glass ceiling, and that glass ceiling is their level of English. So it's difficult when you find somebody like that, and they're in their mid-40s, and now for the first time they realize that actually everything depends on them getting to a certain level of English so that they can do their job in English. So yeah, to answer your question, it is possible to be, of course, to be a successful business person without English, but you're living in a very, very much smaller world. And I think that world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Because around the world, particularly, let's say in China, people are really making a big effort to improve their English. In China right now, there are 300 million people who are learning English. It's 25% of your high school grade is your score in English, or your exams in English. So the Chinese, as powerful as they are, and as powerful as Mandarin might become as a language, they are prioritizing English so that they can expand internationally themselves. So, when you consider, is it important, or is it going to be important in the future to learn Mandarin? Well, they're already learning English, and they're already prioritizing it. So if you want to do business with the Chinese, it's great to speak Mandarin, but you can do it speaking English.
Yeah, I think it's the point, and I will add something. When we live in a small country like Portugal, when in the market point of view, it's not a valuable country. For instance, I could say only 30% of the books, American books, English books, are translated to our Portuguese. So if you put away, okay, I don't want to learn English, you're not taking 70% of the knowledge which lays on that books which are not translated. So yeah. I think it's another, because a teacher of mine told me that she met someone from the Eastern Europe, and they said, I have to learn English because most of the books are not translated to my language. So if I want to learn, if I want to give that step forward, it's yes, yeah, or yes, as Spanish you like to say, sí o sí.
Yeah,
I must learn English. So it's here to last, English, right?
Yeah, I think that's particularly true if you're working in technology, or you're working in innovation, or you're working with state-of-the-art products. All of the scientific journals and all of the new technology magazines are going to be writing in English to reach as wide an audience as possible. So, for example, one of our clients is a technology company that specializes in AI, and they are absolutely at the cutting edge of that technology. And they are constantly reading up the most recent scientific journals from scientific magazines about artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics. So if they can't speak English, if they're not able to speak English, they're not able to get the most recent information in order to be able to do their job as effectively as possible. So particularly if you're in a sexy business, if you're in an interesting, innovative international business, it's fundamental. It's fundamental.
Absolutely, because it has this two sides, which is you need to learn twice, which is you need to learn English to learn other things. So,
Yeah, that's right. Like, for example, if I have a problem with one of my applications, or I'm trying to learn more about how I can use LinkedIn more effectively, I know I can just go on YouTube and choose hundreds of people who can advise me. I know I can go on LinkedIn and do that as well and get it from them. If I don't speak English fluently, then it's more difficult to find somebody or some literature that can help me. So everything that you do becomes, one step back. You've got to either speak English to actually get the source material, or you've got to find somebody to translate that for you and help you. So it's an obstacle. It just makes your life more difficult. And as we migrate towards more startup businesses and individual entrepreneurs and social media and interaction that way, I think that not being able to speak English just makes your life so much harder.
absolutely, absolutely. And we learn from books and from teachers, right? Lately, things are changing. We are learning from YouTube. We are learning from other tutorials, or from Udemy. Where do you think the future will lay on this particular learning thing with English?
I think that we've already entered into a new phase. So we've entered into a new phase of remote education. And certainly we've been transferring our business from face-to-face to online classes. People are getting very comfortable with it. They're actually recognizing that there has a lot of benefits doing things remotely. So I think there's this migration from your classic teacher comes into your office, sits down with you, you have a coffee, you chat about the weekend, and have a conversation with them, to more online, digital, structured approach. Where you have a fixed amount of time and you can bring in media, you can bring in videos, you can do all sorts of really cool stuff when you are online with somebody that you can't actually do. And it feels more intense as well. The educational experience feels more like you've got your headphones on, I'm looking at you, you've got to be focused because you've got all these interactive devices. So actually, I think this is a really good development because it's just a more effective way of delivering content. So that's the first step, what we're going to see. The next step in the next generation or so is you'll see artificial intelligence and machine learning and robots taking over the roles of teachers. So English or learning English, certainly at the lower levels, is a very repetitive task. It's a very standard and a very repetitive task. And we will have computers, we'll have algorithms, we'll have robots that will become super teachers. So you will be speaking to an image of an avatar of somebody, and they will be the ultimate teacher because they'll know exactly the methodology that works for you. They'll know exactly what your weaknesses are. They'll know exactly how to motivate you, and they are available 24 hours a day, and they're much cheaper than a human being. So we're going to see, probably over the next decade or two, a lot of teaching jobs being taken over by technological solutions. So that's the next phase. I think that'll happen in our lifetime. And then beyond that, you're going to get Tesla or you're going to get Google devising some kind of machine that pops into your ear and, hey, presto, I can understand your Portuguese and we can understand Catalan or Dutch or whatever language. So that's probably maybe a generation or two away. But that's the development that we'll see. I think certainly for us in our lifetimes, we'll see the growth of remote education, and also we'll see the growth of artificial intelligence helping students learn in a better way. Because if you think about it, a lot of white collar, you know what I mean by white collar, right? Professional jobs are going to disappear in the next 10 to 20 years. So taxi drivers, airline pilots, surgeons, lawyers, a lot of the work that they do, if not all of it, is going to transfer to robots and to artificial intelligence algorithms. Same thing is going to happen to education. And I think certainly at the lower levels of English, which is super repetitive, that's the first thing that's going to go. I think at higher levels, say like, you know, you've already almost at an advanced level and you want to improve your communication skills, you want to be more persuasive, you want to sell better, you want to negotiate. That's where the human element is going to remain for much longer. And that's actually where we're positioning ourselves. So we see that as the future of language education. That the really interesting sweet spot is professionals who already have a solid level of English, who want to get to a more advanced level where they feel more comfortable, where they feel more fluent and confident, not just speaking English, but also in all forms of business communication, like selling, negotiating, and giving speeches. So that's where we're going to, you know, shift our business to.
Absolutely. And you remind me about something, about some English guy who made so funny videos on LinkedIn. Insightful. Don't get me wrong. Very insightful. I think it's one of the ways you can overcome this AI challenge and bot challenge, because I don't think that AI could be so funny, at least soon. Is this a way you found to overcome some challenge that people find when they are trying to learn English? Because I think one of the things we lived and maybe we growth is that learning should be serious, boring, gray, and somehow you're changing this. Did you find that it's a nice way to overcome this problem people face when they try to learn English?
Yeah, I think neuroscience will tell you that you are more likely to remember something and be engaged in something if you feel happy while you're doing it. The best way to learn a skill is through repetition and a sense of joy. I think that's kind of like a very basic conclusion of the neurological tests that have been done on human beings. That if you want to really have the perfect golf swing, or you want to have the really perfect tennis forehand, then you just got to keep repeating it, and you've got to have fun doing it as well, because then it becomes a skill, a technical skill that you can do with your eyes closed. And it's exactly the same with English. It's a skill, and you learn it through repetition. And if you are in a state of happiness, if you're laughing, if you're moving, if you're emotionally engaged in it, then you're much more likely to make the kind of neurological connections that are necessary in order for you to remember those things. I think that the point is, learning is not just a conscious process. It's not just a rational process. It is also a subconscious and emotional process. And if you can combine those two things, if you can combine the brain with the heart, then you can really get through to people and help them learn much more rapidly. The perfect example is people who have bad mistakes. So common mistakes like your teacher, Marco, or somebody when you were younger is saying, Marco, please stop making that same mistake over again. In Spain, for example, la gente es, the people is, the people from Spain is Spanish. Okay, so that mistake happens all the time, because in English, it's the people are. The people in Spain are Spanish. People is plural. And you can do a rational exercise with a group of people, and everybody will get your exercise right. They will all start saying, the people in Spain are Spanish. The people in England are English. That's great. Bang, bang, bang. Everybody's doing it. But then when you stop, do some other exercises, and then have a discussion, it's like some interesting political discussion or business discussion where you're talking about the people in the country, everybody reverts back to the same mistake again. Because all you're doing is you're communicating with their conscious mind. You're communicating with their rational mind. And as soon as people start talking and they're under pressure and they're thinking about the content of what they're saying, all the language is controlled by the subconscious. It's controlled, it's an automatic and intuitive thing. So therefore, if you want them to correct that bad habit, if you want to eradicate that common mistake, you've got to go beyond the conscious mind. You have to go beyond the rational mind, and you have to get inside somebody. You have to do something that, changes their chip, that gives them some kind of emotional response. And there are various ways to do that. And one of the ways of doing it is through music. Another way is through fun and laughter and joking. And you can get angry with people as well. Sometimes anger works, like swear words, palabrotas. That's kind of aggressive way of doing it, But sometimes teachers get angry, right? And sometimes the students then respond to that anger. So anger can be effective. It's not necessarily the best way of teaching, but it creates an emotional response. And I think that there's like too many people just come to class and engage at a very, very superficial level. I think what you need to do is you need to get into people's emotions. And that's what I try to do in the LinkedIn videos. I try to think, okay, how can I make this lesson emotionally impactful, right? So people either are shocked by it, surprised by it, angered by it, it's controversial. Those things are a little bit, I don't like doing them so much. I've done them from time to time, but the best way is to make people laugh. If you make people laugh, they feel happy, they have an emotional engagement, and they're more likely to listen and more likely to remember to correct their mistake.
Absolutely. And there's this thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm not, which is the problem with learning a new language is that to practice or to put it in practice, you should be in front of someone else. You don't learn English to speak to yourself or to write it down for yourself. It's to someone else. And it's kind of a scary thing, don't you think? Because, okay, what he will think about my English, about my accent, about how do I spell words? What? Are you there? Because your image got frozen.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. How do you face this kind of thinking often, and how do you help? I think this humor thing could help you overcome this, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So we specialize in high intermediate to advanced English speakers who just want to be more confident and more fluent and more credible in English. And one of the problems is there is the objective level of their English, which you get through level tests. But then there's the subjective level of their English. It's what they think about their own English. And actually, most people have a lower opinion of their English than the reality of their level of English. They kind of talk themselves down. My English isn't as good as it should be. My accent's too strong. I pronounce things wrong. You hear this all the time. So people are constantly sending negative messages to themselves. And there's various reasons for this. It could be personal. It could be cultural. It could be to do with the way they were educated. But there's this sense that they're not as good as they should be. And our job is to change that opinion that people have of themselves. Our job is not just to give them objectively more vocabulary, more grammar, common expressions, phrasal verbs, business communication skills, all the objective skills that you need. Our job is also to convince them that they are good, convince them that they can do it, to motivate them, to inspire them. And we do that through creating an environment that's very, very positive in our classes, that's really open and interactive, and we are there to support you And we are there to make you feel good about yourselves. We're there to encourage you and to motivate you. And we're constantly reiterating this message, this positive message. So put this positive message into your subconscious. Stop apologizing for your level of English. Believe in yourself. Look how good you just did that presentation. You did that presentation much better than you expected. So start believing in yourself. Because a lot of it is emotional. A lot of it is subconscious. And a lot of it is the perception that people have of themselves. And they want to become more confident and they want to become more fluent. So you can help them become confident and more fluent by teaching them skills, or you can help them become more confident and fluent by increasing their level of confidence. You know what I mean? By telling them that they're good enough and that they can do it. So we focus very much on that this is an emotional journey, learning English. And particularly for professional people who feel under pressure, who feel self-conscious when they're in a meeting, who feel like they're being judged. If I could just take those thoughts away from you, if you walked into a meeting and you immediately sending signals to yourself that you're nervous, you're scared, you're going to be judged, your English isn't good enough, you're going to make mistakes, which a lot of people do when they go into meetings with native English speakers. If I could just take those thoughts away from you, then we're almost there. You know, you would feel much better about yourself. You would perform much better. It's a little bit like drinking a nice glass of Ribera del Duero before going in and having a meeting. You know, you take away these insecurities and suddenly you do feel better about your English. So that's what we're there for. We're there to pour the little bit of Ribera del Duero into your wine glass so you can have a sip of that before you go into your meeting, and that's just going to make you feel better about yourself. And at the same time, we're going to provide you with essential advanced grammar, common expressions, phrasal verbs that will also help you as well. It's objective and it's also very much subjective.
Perfect. Well, we have some people there because I don't know what happened. There's the comments are not reaching the studio, so I should follow them on LinkedIn. Hello, Marcelo. Hello, Miguel. Welcome. Drop your questions if you have some, please. I will try to follow in the screens. Okay.
This is live. That's
yeah,
live.
Yeah. That's the point. It's this. I think live stream is kind of the same as English, as a second language. You should know. You should face the fears. You should be in front of the camera, confident, and let's do it. Because I used to say this to people who usually do trainings with me about live streaming. Oh, I'm not that good, and people may come to me and say, "You suck doing this. Why do you do it? Stop doing." And I have this answer to that I say to them. There's the answer you should give to that people. I'm not good. That's why I'm doing so often. It's training, and I can't improve. Did I say can't in the right way?
You did. You said it very clearly. Like non-native speakers say it much more clearly than native speakers.
I'm doing this to improve because I think it's really it's when you show yourself in this vulnerable way. I think it's good for you to understand. Okay, I couldn't be the greatest guy doing live streaming. I could not be the greatest guy speaking English, but I'm doing my path. I'm building my thing. So let me do the things as I want to do.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody very wise once said 90% of success is just showing up. Right? So and that's actually very true of LinkedIn, right? 90% of the success is actually just going ahead and posting. That's the success of public speaking. 90% of it is just getting up and doing it because a lot of people don't put their hands up. When someone says, you know, who's going to give a speech in the Christmas party, or, you know, who's going to make a presentation? It's the person that puts their hand up that does the speech and gets the credit. And they might not be the best person to do it. it's about, yeah, having the confidence to just go for it and just do it and make mistakes. I mean, I recently did a speech in Spanish. In fact, I did three speeches in Spanish in one night. And yeah, it was really challenging for me. And everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like my PowerPoint presentation didn't work. My microphone stopped working. And I had all these people in front of me. And it was like I would be able to improvise if I was doing it in English. But I was there doing it in Spanish. And there was nothing in my notes to help me with this, dealing with this situation. I felt completely naked in front of all these people. And my speech wasn't great. It was not a great speech, irrespective of the things that went wrong. And I came out of it thinking, God, I shouldn't have done that. I should not have, or I should have insisted on doing it in English. So for a few days, I was, kind of upset with myself. But as time passes, you look back on these things and you become more objective and you think, well, actually, that was an amazing learning experience. And I know that next time I'm going to be better prepared if something goes wrong. And I have all this amazing material that I can now use or cut and paste into future presentations. So if I hadn't done it, I mean, I considered that speech a failure, but by my standards. I think it was okay, and the company paid me for it, so I think they were happy with it. But it wasn't great. But I see that as a stepping stone. I see that as a way to reach a point where I can get up and give a speech in Spanish in the same way as I can get up and give a speech in English.
It's kind of pattern you established there, a kind of milestone. And now I just have to improve from now on. I think it's the right mindset you should approach to these kind of situations. Okay, something went not so good, but at least I made it. And I think when you make something, you make more than 90% of people.
Yeah, and you know what? You feel terrible. You feel terrible for a couple of days. But there's another saying that comedy equals tragedy plus time. So if something bad happens to you, you kind of embarrass yourself. You screw up, right? It feels really bad at the time, and you're killing yourself. You're saying, "Oh my God, why did I do that? I'm such an idiot." And you're blaming yourself, and you're thinking that you're inadequate. You think that you're an imposter. But then as time passes and you look back on it and you go down to the pub or you go down to a bar and you have a beer and you say, God, I was doing this speech and nothing was working, and your friends start laughing with you, it turns into a funny anecdote. It turns into something that you can use at some point in the future. And then it doesn't become such a bad thing. It becomes, as I say, it becomes a step in your overall improvement to become a better human being, to become a better communicator, to become, a better English speaker, or in my case, a better Spanish speaker.
Absolutely. And I'm starting, I'm not as good as I should, or as I think, or as others in English. How should I start doing business internationally? Should I first improve my English and then go English businessing, or there's no this level thing?
Yeah, I think that you have to really be aware of the level that you need in order to function in your job. And if you feel that level is not good enough, you need to do something about it. And you need to look not to the next 6 months, but to the next 6 years or even longer of your career. It's like, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Okay, your English is, maybe it's okay at the moment, and maybe it's okay for the operational level that you're at. But where do you want to be in 5 years' time? And if you want to be traveling around the world as an international business person or in charge of international projects, then you know now that your English has to be better at some point in the future. And you have to plan for that. And you have to realize that it's a long game. It's a very, very long process of getting better and better and better. Remember, the learning curve is, I think it's called logarithmic, right? It's very steep to begin with. An extra 100 words when you're a beginner completely changes the way that you communicate. But when you're up here, like you are, Marco, when you're like kind of at the advanced level, but you want to get even more advanced, an extra 100 words doesn't make that much difference. What you need is an extra 1,000 words. So it takes longer. It takes a lot longer. In fact, according to Cambridge University Press, so these are the people that are the experts in levels and in testing and in theory and English language theory around the world. According to them, to get from A1 to A2, you know there's 6 levels, right? Just a quick review of levels. You have A1, A2, elementary, B1, B2, intermediate, C1, C2, advanced, okay? So to get from A1 to A2, it takes about 100 hours, 120 hours of guided learning. So with your teacher or doing homework that's monitored. To get from C1 to C2, so at the most advanced level to improve, it takes 350 hours. Okay? So that just goes to show, if you're an advanced speaker, do not expect to see or perceive those improvements in your classes straight away. And I think what happens is people take classes and they don't see any improvement over the first few months, and that demoralizes them, and then they stop going to class. You've got to realize that as an advanced speaker or a high intermediate speaker, it takes a long time, and therefore you have to bring English into your life. You have to do lots of things on an everyday basis, and then over those next few years, you will see a massive difference. So if you have that long-term view, in 5 years' time, your English will be so much better than it is now, and you will be able to do what you want to do as an international manager. So I think to answer your question, Marco, you've got to say, what is my long-term goal in this company, or as a business person? Is my English level good enough to manage that? If not, I need to start learning now, and I need to take a long-term perspective and be patient.
Well, we should think about it as, for instance, as a sprint runner, because the first time he arrives in the track and starts training, he will make great improvements in his scores. But if he wants to reach that Olympic final, the improvements will be so tiny that I think it's the same. And Miguel says here, confidence is fundamental in learning, but not just in learning. For instance, we need to go to an important interview in English. We are so scared because it's a very important interview, a very important meeting, and by itself, it's scary. But you should speak in English. Oh my God, what should I do?
Yeah, well, I think interviews are very predictable. There is a stock of about 20 questions that people are definitely going to ask you. And you just need to go through that list of questions, and you need to write down your answers in English, and then you need to practice them and try to memorize them. So you need to be able to answer, tell me about yourself. It's not an easy question to answer. Tell me about yourself. You've got to structure in a way where you present yourself as somebody who adds value to the company. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Once again, difficult question to answer unless you've thought about it. How do you differentiate yourself from the other people coming to this interview or applying for this job? You know, there's about 20 of these questions that get asked all the time. And you need to prepare your answers. And those answers will work for all your interviews. And then what you have to do is you have to research the company, and you have to research it on the internet, and it's good idea is to research it in English. And really, like, if you know anybody at that company, call them up and speak to them, and realize that actually interviewing for jobs or looking for a job is a full-time job, right? And treat it like a full-time job. Treat it as something that's you really need to work hard for. It's like the most important presentation of your life. If you were doing a PowerPoint presentation on behalf of your company to the most important client, how much effort would you put into that? How much research would you put in? How many calls would you make to people to make sure everything was perfect? Well, a job interview is more important than that. So put in the same amount of effort. That means be smart, know the questions they're going to ask you and prepare and memorize them, and know the company. Do the research on the company, call the people that you know. And then you go in much more confident, because as Miguel was saying, confidence is fundamental in learning. It's also fundamental in job interviews. It's fundamental in public speaking and presentations. And a very good tip that I would give that other communications coaches use as well is to film yourself. Like when I'm making my LinkedIn videos, I learn a lot about how I'm presenting myself by watching my own videos. It can be really difficult to hear yourself and to watch yourself. But if you make a little video of yourself answering the question, and then you watch it and you look at it and you see what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and then you perfect it over time, when you go in to do that interview, you know what you look like. You know how you appear, and you're comfortable with how you appear, and that gives you confidence.
Absolutely. Miguel says confidence is fundamental in learning and in performing.
Yes.
Which leads us to another thing. I think it's the second thing. We talked about interview, which is a scary moment, but there's another one which is even more scary, which is public speaking, that frightening thing.
Yeah.
It's the biggest fear in humankind. It's public speaking. It's scary. And if you are, I can remember this. I had it was 10 years ago or even more. I have this. I don't know if you heard about Ignite, which was kind of. It was a concept all over the world. It was you have a talk to give. You have 5 minutes and 20 slides. Every 15 seconds, the slide drops. So you should be fast, and you should put most of the time I even put any text on the slide, just an image. And the first one I gave, look how stressful it could be. It was in English.
Wow. That's brave.
Yeah. I remember that they were the most challenging 5 minutes in my life. And my level of English was even like it is by these days, but I made it. And I jumped at the end. Okay, I made it. Oh. How can I prepare to give this public speaking in English?
Well, it's very similar to the job interview preparation in the sense that you need to really put in the hours. That it could be one of the most important things that you do in your career. Like actually getting up and giving a speech is putting a spotlight on yourself. It's raising your profile either internally within your company or externally at a conference. So you have an amazing privilege and an amazing opportunity to really turbo boost your career and really raise your profile. So it's worth really putting in the hours. And it is a lot of hours, and it's a lot of hard work, particularly if it's the first time that you do it. Once you've done it once or twice, you have some material and you have some experience, and then you can modify it and customize it. But the first time you do it, don't underestimate the amount of time that you have to put into it. That's the first thing. I would say write it all out, try to memorize it, take a video of yourself, ask somebody that you trust what they think of your presentation, to present it to as many people as possible. Think about it when you're driving in the car on the way to pick up the kids from school. Bring it into your life as much as possible in the run up to the speech. I think like when Ronald Reagan was preparing for a big speech, he would spend, I think it was 2 hours a day, every day in the run up to the speech. And then the day before, he would clear his schedule so he could just focus on the speech. Right? And he's known as one of the great statesmen, one of the great speech makers. And he was the president of the United States, and he was clearing his agenda so that he could spend the whole day practicing a speech because he recognized how important it was. So there's nothing compensates for putting in the hours, practicing, getting feedback, and improving, and having in mind that it's probably not going to be your greatest speech, certainly not the first one, and that's okay. That's okay, and you're going to be much tougher on yourself than everybody else is. Everybody else is going to admire you. I mean, there will be a couple of idiots in the audience, as there always are. But the majority of people will be going, yeah, that's great. Marco's got up. He's doing it in not his native language, and he's done a great job. People want you to succeed. People want you to do well. They want to be part of a positive experience. And so they're on your side. And you have to try to remember that. So, yeah, I think that's my advice. Practice. Recognize that it's not necessarily going to be the most amazing experience of your life, but it is going to make you a better person, and it is a stepping stone to something better. And remember, the audience is with you.
Absolutely. It's funny because I see this all the time. Sometimes people ask me advices on how to do public speaking, what gives you confidence, and for me, there's only one thing. People are sitting there in front of you because they want to be inspired by you. They want to see you shining brightly because that's the point. I ask people when they ask me about this, look, does it make any sense for you that you or someone else will go to a place, listen to someone speaking, for watching them making mistakes, doing it wrong? No, it doesn't make any sense for me. Well, that's the point. They are there to learn from you, to get inspired. Do it.
Yeah, that's right. It's difficult to do this, right? It's really difficult to do this, but you've got to try and take your ego out of the equation. And you really need to tell yourself that it's about the audience. It's about them. And you are there to help them. And you are there to persuade them to do something that's good for them. So if you really get that into your head, if you really convince yourself that it's not about you, it's just you have this opportunity to help people, to contribute to them, to get into their minds and solve their problem, then it becomes less stressful. I mean, if you think about religious speakers, right? Generally, religious speakers, well, they have a lot of practice, but they're doing it because they believe that they are helping their audience. They are helping their churchgoers, or the people coming to the mosque, or the people who are in the fields, wherever they might be. And this sense that you have come to help other people also applies to a business speech or a political speech. It's not about you. And a lot of people don't get that. In a lot of forms of communication, people don't understand that what your audience wants is to learn something that will help them become a better person. And if they sense you are there to help them do that, then they will open their minds and they will open their hearts to you. And if you, as the speaker, really get it into your head that I am here for them, I'm here to make their lives better, it's not about me, then it really helps you. It gives you moral purpose. It gives you what we call ethos. It gives you credibility and trustworthiness when you step up on the stage. And not that many people do that. A lot of people, social media is tends to be about me, right? Look at my trophy, look at my award, look at what I'm doing here. And people watching on LinkedIn, so it's like, so what? Like, you flick through all these things when it's just all about what somebody has achieved that's not in any way connected to you. But where you stop when you know that somebody's going to tell you something that's for you, that's going to benefit you, that's about you. So I think all forms of public speaking start with what the audience wants. All forms of public speaking start with trying to get into the head of your audience and trying to find out what their problem is and then delivering a solution to that problem. And if you go in there with that philosophy, that it's about helping them, it's about doing them a favor, then it is less pressure on you, because it's not about you being a star. It's not about you being funny. It's not about your personal profile.
Absolutely. And by the way, how can you help people in a further way, in the deepest way, to improve their English?
Well, that's a very good question, Marco. Thank you very much for asking it. Well, we have LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. There's like content that I put out every once a week or twice a week sometimes. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, we have something called Club Gratton. Club Gratton is our online business English platform where all the things that we do on LinkedIn, we do them in a greater amount of detail. But it is a mix of mind and heart. So you're going to learn all of the necessary things to be a more effective professional within international business. So we'll work on your common mistakes. We'll work on phrasal verbs and common expressions. But there's also the emotional content. It's a club, and we are here to support you, and we are here to help you bring English into your life on an ongoing basis. We are here to make you feel better about your English. So that starts with not feeling oxidado or oxidada, so you're never rusty with your English, all the way to feeling actually more confident in yourself. So if you want to try it, we've got a 2-week free trial. I think Marco has just put the link onto the chat. Just click in there, have a look at it. You'll see the methodology that we use, and you're more than welcome to join us, try it out, and see if it works for you.
Absolutely. I think it's truly important in every kind of learning, but I think when we are talking about languages, if we have people to interact, to collaborate in this learning process, it's easy because I can, for instance, I can chat with you in English. I can, okay, let's jump into a call and let's practice. I think it's easier than just being alone with this English for Dummies book. So let me learn.
Yeah, throw away the books. I mean, the future of language teaching is definitely online. That's the next step. It's remote education. It's because particularly for busy professionals, it's really difficult to organize. If you find a good teacher, it's very difficult to coordinate your timetables, and it's a little bit inconvenient. You might miss a class and then you lose your rhythm. But with this, you can join us on any one of 4 occasions during the week. If you miss it, you have the recorded version. There's also supporting material. There's also a weekly feedback test that you have to do, so you get feedback on how well you're doing. And you also end up competing and collaborating with all the other people in the club. And they're people like you. They're people like you, Marco. So they're people who have a good level of English, but just know how important it is for their future to be more effective. And we are there to help you in the medium to long term reach the level that you need to get to.
Perfect. Well, Sam, a great conversation. We are almost reaching the end, but I can't let you go before asking you the guest suggestions. Let me put it it worked.
Okay.
Sam, as usual, to my guests, I like to ask some suggestions, which are a professional, a shout out, a book, a habit, which should be legal and healthy. Because I had a guest who asked me, can I talk about smoking? A tool, a book, a movie, and a TV show.
Okay, so let's go work our way backwards. TV shows. I think I would recommend Downton Abbey as a great way of improving your English and watching something that's actually very entertaining and elegantly filmed. If you want something more business orientated, The Good Wife. That's an excellent series. I mean, I really enjoyed both of those series, and I think they're really good ways of improving your listening skills. My favorite movie is a movie called Big Fish.
Oh my God!
It's a Tim Burton movie. It's like
Absolutely,
super.
it's an amazing. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
fantasy drama about the relationship between a father and his son, and it's extremely beautifully made and very, very poignant and emotional. And I spent a lot of time crying on my wife's shoulder after I watched that film. It really, really affected me. So Big Fish is the film that I would recommend. In terms of the tools, well, the obvious thing is I need my iPhone in order to make my films. But the tool I'm using most, apart from that at the moment, is my paddle racket. I can't go anywhere without my paddle racket because I'm playing paddle 2 times a week with my buddies. And I think, yeah, staying fit, healthy mind, healthy body, that's a really important thing to do. In terms of a habit, have you heard of Wim Hof?
Nope.
Wim Hof, okay, you need to look him up. Okay, he's this Dutch dude, and he helps you energize yourself. And he does that in 2 ways. He does it through breathing exercises and by taking cold showers. So my habit would be a 3-minute cold shower every morning.
Oh my God!
Now, I haven't been able to I haven't been able to do it every morning. In fact, I haven't been able to do it any morning. But that's the habit that I want to get into. It's more effective than the strongest Brazilian coffee. So it has a big impact on you. What were the other ones? The book. In terms of books, I'm reading a book at the moment called The Power of Your Subconscious. That's something that I think I want to implement into my teaching, The Power of Your Subconscious by Mitch Horowitz. It's a classic from like 20 years ago, and it's all about how you send positive messages to your subconscious, and then your subconscious helps you make things happen. Did I miss anything?
A shout out.
A shout out. Okay, who am I going to have a shout out to? Oh, okay, I'm going to give a shout out to my kids because Natalia, Carolina, and Violetta, they find my filmmaking quite curious because they'll be sitting in the living room doing their homework, and they'll be hearing me repeat the same thing over and over again in front of the camera until I eventually get it right. Because it takes quite a lot of takes, a lot of tomas to get the video. So they're sitting watching me. So big shout out to them for their patience, and of course my amazing wife, who's my business partner as well. And in exactly 1 hour, we are going to start our next session of Club Gratton. So, you can join us. Marco, I can send you the link and you can join us for that if you like. And anybody else who wants to try it out, please, it's on our website, and you can test it. And if you like it, you can stick with it and meet the other people who are part of the club. We're all here to help you reach the level of English that you deserve.
Oh, perfect. So, Sam, we came to the end. Thank you so much. It was an amazing conversation, very insightful. For those of you who are watching now or who are watching the replay, please send reactions to Sam to thank him, or write down comments. Don't forget to follow him also on social media, and go to the Club Gratton. It's kind of French spelling, Gratton.
Yeah, I think it's a Norman name. So I think my ancestors were the Normans from the north of France who came and took control of England from the Saxons. You know that the King of England spoke French for about 200 years, the kings and queens of England.
No,
So
I have no
yeah,
idea.
the influence, there's a huge French influence on the English language, and it tends to be at the sort of more intellectual level, because for about 200 years, the nobility and the kings were all of French origin. They were all Normans. So I
Oh,
think my name, yeah, I think somewhere in my ancestry, there's got to be some French.
perfect. Well, Sam, again, thank you so much. It was an amazing conversation. It was really good, and I hope that one day you can be back to my show to talk maybe about a book or something you will be releasing. Let me know if it's something you want to promote and to share with my audience. I will be thankful to have you here again.
Great. Well, listen, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure. And I'm going to continue to watch your live streaming shows because I think they're great.
Okay, perfect. Well, next Thursday I will be I'm having another one in Spanish, so it's time
Great. Okay,
for
perfect
you
opportunity to improve my Spanish. There we go.
para escuchar un poquito de hablando en castellano
Perfecto.
con una señorita de México. Por lo
Muy
tanto,
bien.
ya estás invitado para participar.
Muchísimas gracias. Nos vemos.
Encantado.
¿No?
Well, so for all of you who are watching us, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your comments. And don't forget, if you're watching the replay, leave the comments also. If there's a question to Sam, tag him so he can know that you have this comment. And see you next Thursday. So till there. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Marco. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.